Well, what we're looking at today is a topic we call change your writing, change your life. Now, what the heck does that mean? You're going to find this fascinating because we find it fascinating. We're going to show you something which, as usual, really works in the real world. Some of you know I teach graphology, and I've been certified as a graphologist, actually a graphoanalyst, taken all the training. I did an internship in Chicago, and I did it forensically. I worked with police departments, a suicide note, threats, and so on. This stuff you can take to the bank. If it's in the writing, it's in the personality. Well, so what? But here's the thing. What people don't realize is it's not your hand that writes. It's your brain that writes. It's a complex neuromuscular function, I think, in the prefrontal cortex. Your brain sends a fine motor skill message down to your hand based on your personality, your mood, everything at that moment. Now, the reason this is interesting, and Chris, you and I have discussed this at length, is when we change it, the handwriting, we're sending the signal back. So the personality determines how we write. When we change the way we write intentionally and continuously, that trait changes in our personality as well. It's called graphotherapy. It's the easiest self-work you can do. All you have to do is change a few things in your writing and your personality will change. You'll get new resources, etc., and eliminate problems.
I like that a lot. And actually that makes me think of, we've talked about these what we call cause and effect loops. I think I named it that way.
I think you did.
The cause and effect loop. Sometimes one thing is the cause and the effect is the other thing, or you can spin it around, right? And a good example might be if someone is depressed, that causes them to, say, eat crappy foods. But also if they eat good foods and therefore they want to exercise, the result is they'll feel better. So these cause effect loops, and that's what we're talking about here, is
the chicken and egg stuff.
In this case, we're not going to be doing graphology, analyzing your handwriting.
No.
Mike's going to be suggesting things that you can build into your handwriting, and we'll talk about how you can do that with journaling for maybe 5 minutes a day, so that you can work better traits into your personality.
Fantastic. Now, let's just realize, first of all, this isn't fringe. This is mainstream in Europe. And places like the Sorbonne in Paris and the University of Heidelberg, you can actually get degrees in graphology. So the stuff I'm giving you is mainstream. We're going to show you not how to dramatically change all of your writing, but just a few things. And if you do this, your personality will change in as little as 1 month. Now, interestingly, in North America, at least, where Chris and I grew up, in Canada, the Palmer method is the choice of handwriting system. In other words,
cursive, right?
Cursive writing.
Yeah.
When you learn to do cursive writing in about grade 3 or 4, whatever it is, connecting the letters instead of printing, Palmer's writing was the one that was chosen. And you'll see these diagrams in public school rooms with across the room, the top over the blackboard, the perfectly formed letters the way Palmer did them. But the problem is the Palmer method tends to build in traits into the handwriting that are not especially good. And I won't go into all the reasons, but it builds in things like jealousy, emotional repression, where your emotions will bottle up and then come exploding out, which is an inconvenience for everybody around you. And even things like secrecy and hiding stuff, because this is what was in Palmer's writing, which was considered normal. Well, interestingly, as people begin to write, very few stay with the Palmer method because their own personalities start to dominate. They start to build in their own methods, and everyone has their own unique handwriting. And you're not writing because you saw someone else do that. You're writing that way because it's your personality showing itself.
Right. Now, not every trait you cover will actually work for people who write in a printing manner, right? But I think most people who learn printing learned cursive, now maybe do a bit of a hybrid of cursive.
You are absolutely correct.
Printing.
So we'll print writing.
Right. So we'll make sure that Mike talks about this as he offers you the suggested changes.
Yes. Almost nobody writes with 100% cursive. You have to lift the pen to dot I's, cross T's, end words, and so on. But we find ways of making shortcuts in our writing. So it is print writing. We do a mix of both, and that is what most of the world does.
Right.
Now realize it doesn't matter your culture. These techniques will work provided you use the Western alphabet of 26 letters, or in Italian, I think there's a couple of letters that aren't used. But the point is, if you use this alphabet, it'll work regardless of the language you're speaking.
Okay, so now maybe before you teach the changes, let's talk about how to actually practice it on a daily basis. I think it might work here to dovetail in the idea that writing stuff down, especially affirmations, writing things down that you want to have happen, has a tendency of increasing the chance that they actually happen in your life anyway. So why not work on this while fixing your handwriting together?
Well, you're absolutely bang on with that, Chris. Chris and I no longer do goal setting. We do something called one word. That's a topic for a
Maybe
different
a different
video.
video lesson.
Yeah, but he's correct about this. When we change our writing, when we make these shifts in our life, things have a transition that work through our lives as well. And one of the things that it ties in well with is goal setting, like you said. The only time I hit all the goals I wanted to was when I freaking wrote them down. And it amazed me. Everybody said, you want it to work, write them down, review them. This makes it even better because you're going to be sending a signal to your unconscious mind to make these changes in your personality. And the great thing is, guys, you don't have to believe in this. You don't have to do any difficult thing. It's easy. Here's what you need to do.
Okay.
To apply these changes, I recommend you get a notebook, a nice notebook that you will write in every single day. Oh, well, I don't write. He's got one here. He's going to show you. Here's his.
I just use this. I buy a blank journal that has really no structure. It's blank.
Perfect. Blank pages are ideal, but it doesn't really matter as far as the lines go. But when we do this, the key is you're going to spend about 5 minutes minimum to 10 minutes maximum writing in this journal book every single day. But not just writing. You're going to write with your affirmations. You're going to make strong I am statements. I'm learning faster. I'm changing this trait. Whatever it is, you're going to...
Whatever you want.
Yeah, whatever you want, your own particular way of putting this. But as you write them, you're going to build in the graphological shifts that I'm going to give you so that these will become your new ways of doing certain things in your writing, and the response will work its way through your physical body, your personality in as little as 28 days. The key is be consistent. Now, people say, oh, but I don't write. Nobody writes anymore. True. Everybody uses their thumbs now, but you still can write. You still know how. And it's a great idea to build in consistency with your writing, build in these traits so your writing gradually takes on this personality.
Yeah.
And when you do that, guess what happens? When it becomes automatic, that you're not doing it on purpose anymore, and some of these changes are difficult to install, your body will fight back. It won't want to make letters that way. But if you persist, it will be in your personality, and you will absolutely notice the difference very quickly.
It becomes hardwired into your brain, right?
Thank you.
Are we moving into the actual
Yes.
handwriting? And watch how we do this, because we didn't have an easel with a pad that we normally would set up with. So watch the brilliant way that we're going to show you this.
All right. I'm going to give you 3 different things that will change your handwriting and change your life. And then we'll throw in one bonus that comes from my own experience.
Okay.
The first thing is the small letter T,
I
the
see.
one that has a T bar
I
going
see you
across
have a
it.
dry erase marker in
So I get a dry erase marker. I'm going to put this here. I'm going to do it vertical like this. Small letter T. Put the T bar high up on the stem.
let's
Can you
show
see
that
that?
really close.
Let's show that really close.
Oh, let's see. Oh, there we go.
All right, I'm going to make the T-bar heavier so you can see it even
you
better.
go.
So high up. Whoa, this stuff
really
really
comes
comes
out.
out. High up, heavy weight, heavy pressure, and slightly pointed up. Make it long. So there's your rules. High on the stem. This is what you do not want.
Oh.
You don't want it low like this. High up on the stem, still touching. Long, slightly going upward on an incline, and heavy weight. What this will do is this will build into your personality a number of different things. I'm telling you first, before we get to the next one, this one was a difficult one for me because my T-bars were low. Low to the level of letters like A and M and N and so on, really low. What that does is it removes your initiative to work harder. Your T-bar is how high you set the bar in your life for you to jump over.
Like a high jump in.
Like a high
gym
jump.
class, yeah.
Yes. Now, when we put the T-bars high, that is coaching the brain to go after long-term goals, and it really, really makes a difference. My T-bars kept slipping back down, but I worked on it, and now essentially all the time they're higher up. Now, when you put an incline on them as well, point it up slightly, you're adding another magical trait, optimism. You're getting that as well. You feel optimistic about the future. Don't do it crazy, overcompensation, but up on a bit of an incline. When you make them long as well, you're adding a leadership trait, which is enthusiasm. Enthusiasm can get other people caught up in your plans and your ideas.
Okay, so optimism, enthusiasm, and
Strong willpower.
strong willpower, like high enough goals. But also, you've mentioned not floating above the vertical.
Right.
Like goals that
It
are
must touch
so
the stem.
airy-fairy, they're out of touch.
That,
with
he's
reality.
exactly right. If the T-bar is above the stem, and especially if it's faint, that's daydreaming. Daydreaming about, oh, you want things better. We had a friend, true story, they're all true, and she had told us that she wanted to, get a place in BC with her husband in the mountains with a trout stream running through their property and, maybe a couple of horses in a stable. She didn't even have a freaking job. And we got the Christmas card from her. And sure enough, the T-bar was lightweight, like very little pressure, floating above the stem. Daydreaming, but doing nothing about it. Make sure yours remains connected. Don't be afraid to press hard with a T-bar. That brings in more will as well.
All right. What's trait number 2?
Here's a real easy one. Underline your signature every time you sign your name. Well, I don't sign my name like that. Yeah, start doing it right away today. Your new signature is your old signature, but with a single underscore. And when I say underscore, I mean it should go underneath your signature. I'm just going to write
I'll
my
let you
name
draw it.
here.
I'll just point out that obviously the one exception might be legal documents where you have to fit your signature in the box and stuff, and you can't do the signature,
Right.
the underline.
I do it anyway. Yeah. I do it outside the box. So let's say this is my signature. My name is Dave. Look at this. So here's the signature. And it is one single underscore left to right underneath the name without cutting through it.
Were you intending to be Dave Ellman there?
I don't know what I was intending.
So hold that real quick.
Yeah. One underscore left to right, not touching it, not cutting through it. All right. Okay. What this does,
I
look
think
at
this
us.
works.
We're
This
doing
isn't
the extra mile for
Hollywood,
you
guys,
No,
but it works.
It works. And so do we, because our writing is good. So when you underline your writing, write your name, then go back to the beginning, underline your signature, a strong, straight stroke. If you want to go slightly up to build in optimism, you can. Mm-hmm. What does this add? This adds the trait of self-reliance. Now, self-reliance, I was looking at the monitor.
Yeah, so was I.
I don't need to. Self-reliance, listen to this, guys, is the ability to go it alone when you don't get help. Now, do you think that's a powerful trait? It's another leadership trait. It's another trait that adds to the high T-bars because these compound on each other. Start underlining your signature. Why not right to left? Because, whoa, this stuff really comes out. Why not? You want to cut that?
No.
Okay. We'll edit it out. Why not do right to left? Because in handwriting, the past is on the left and the future is on the right. That's the direction your writing goes. You don't want to be living in the past. You want to be future oriented. So this will add to your T-bar raise. It'll give you more go ahead power for building your goals, more self-reliance. And you'll find it will greatly help you. If you're a parent, teach your kids to underline your signature. Underline theirs, not yours. When I was a therapist, any kids that came in, I worked with a lot of ADD kids, ADHD kids. When they came in, I would always look at their writing and encourage them to underline their signature. And sometimes, the teacher says I can't. Yeah, you tell a teacher, your therapist says you have to. And that's
brilliant.
We built it in. So that's a great one.
Build in the authority there.
Any questions about that?
No, I'm just, while we move on to the next one, I'm just going to point out how we used to on the podcast, and we stopped doing this. We used to say, we'll edit that out. And of course, just so you know, we never do. We don't actually edit it out. So when you heard that and it's still in there, we don't edit it.
It's because we never edit it.
It's just
that whole talk we didn't have to tell them, so we'll edit that out.
Yeah, very meta.
Very meta.
Let's go on to the next trait.
Okay, the next one is an interesting one. This is the lower zones in handwriting. Now, if you imagine writing in 3 zones, in the middle, whether you actually see them depicted as this, in the middle is the zone that sits on a baseline. Now, the baseline is the line the writing rests on.
You want to draw this at all?
No, it's easy enough. The baseline could be the line in the page. Mm-hmm. But if the page doesn't have lines, the baseline is just implied. You're not going all over the place like Jack the frickin' Idiot. So the baseline is consistent. Now, when the writing rests on the baseline, the letters that rest on it in the middle are letters like A, C, O, M, and they only take up the middle zone. And the middle zone is just a relationship with other people, thinking process. We don't need to say what each one is, but it's what's below the baseline that is crucial in this. Because typically, letters like small letter G, small letter Q, let's say
F, which we're going to
we'll get to that one in a second. A Y, letter Y, they usually have a loop on them. Now, the loop is important because the loop shows the size of your social circle, how much you want out of life, and the need for variety. It's very powerful, even your need for things like sex. And so you want to have a better sex life? One of the things you can do is enlarge those lower loops. And people who have very small social circles have almost no loop on the bottom letter. I'm just going to draw an average one, and I'm going to draw how you should do it instead if you're planning on changing it. So I'll draw it here and hold it up. Let's go. Let's start at the other end here, Chris.
Yeah, sure, as long as you get enough space.
So I'll do a Y, and now I'll do a better Y. All right. I'll let you hold
All
those
right,
up.
let's get these. Yeah, here,
Yeah.
just make sure they're.
So you see, the one on the left is a narrow loop. That's okay, but the one on the right is much better. Make your lower loops large. Build in that variety, build in the social support mechanism and so on. You'll find that is a very, very powerful. It's just reaching around like
You
Jack the
taught
Reacher.
me as well the idea of bringing the loop past the baseline, so not
That's
leaving it in the lower zone.
Well,
but
he's brought in a
bringing it
whole
back
other
up.
thing. Let's just have a look at this again.
Okay.
I'm going to hold it back here.
This
If
is
you look,
dangerous.
you see the lower loop comes up and it crosses the imaginary baseline. You do not, under any circumstances, have it like this.
Here, I'll hold it for you.
Where it's here and it stops. If it stops like that and does not make its way back up to the baseline, your ideas coming out of your unconscious and your creativity will be stifled. They won't make it to the surface. I had that for years, and my graphology teacher, Elaine Cheryl, taught me, bring them up above the baseline, make the loops larger, and bang, I became a freaking creative monster, as he will attest to.
Totally true.
Now,
All right.
and here's your bonus one. So if you change those three, you'll be off to the races, metaphorically and literally. And the last one is the small letter F. But let me give you the story with it first. A typical small letter F taught in the Palmer method has two loops.
You're still looking at the monitor.
I am. He caught me. A typical F, according to the Palmer method, has two loops. The upper loop is the concept of organization, how well organized you are. And the lower loop is how well you carry out that organization. Now, I had, in my early days, no upper loop, just a straight line, and the lower loop was big. What that says is I cannot organize my life, but if someone else does it for me, then I can be organized. Oh, you can do it?
No, well,
Okay,
yeah, you do it.
Okay, so
my handwriting's brutal.
Here's how I did it. Let's do it.
Talking to the microphone after. Okay.
That was my F. No lower, no upper loop, all lower. In other words, if someone else designs a plan, then I'm able to carry it out, the organizational plan. I was very disorganized. My wife is the queen of organization, and she managed to get some of it in my life. Over the last few years, I've become extremely organized, mostly because of electronic devices.
And now what is your
Now
F
my
look
Fs
like?
are like this.
Did you purposefully change them, by the way?
No,
Or
I did not.
They just
I
unconsciously
did.
change.
Now they became the same size, roughly.
Yeah.
When your Fs are like this, you're able to organize your life and you're able to carry out the organizational skills. If you see perfectly balanced F loops, you're dealing with a very, very organized person who will bring their own imagination to bear and create organization in their life. If you're disorganized, this is a great one to add. Some people do it like this. There's no loops, upper or lower, meaning they can do a plan, they're the same, provided it's bare bones, really sparse. But that's the one to go after, equal,
You know
complete
what?
loops.
That's really interesting because for me, my upper loop is not much smaller, but smaller for sure than my lower. I'm very good at doing things. I'm an engineer, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not that creative. I'm not
Well, that's what we
super
wanted to talk to you
creative.
about,
There
Chris.
go.
That's what the next video is about. Chris, lack
True
of
point.
creativity, can it be fixed?
I'm creative enough. I have
Yeah,
a
you
loop,
are.
but I'm not
Just enough.
super genius creative boy. Okay.
So, let me just give you an example of what you can expect with this. We had one of our students in hypnosis came to Toronto from Montreal. His name was Stephen. We won't say the rest of it. We'll let him keep his privacy. His writing was an absolute mess, and his life was a mess. He was trying to get it together. And I worked with him, showed him how to fix his handwriting, how to make his emotions stable, adding all these different leadership traits, bunch of stuff. He changed his handwriting, and he frickin' changed his life.
Definitely.
He became like one of the #1 swimming coaches.
The youngest swimming coach for whatever level. It was a high level swimming competitive athletes in swimming. He became the youngest coach ever in that organization.
In the country.
Yeah.
Insane. This will work for you. Change your writing. It will change your life. And do this 5-10 minutes a day, building the changes in. You can even write about the changes. And you say, I'm becoming far more organized every day. And you're making your F with the double loops the same. You can say, I'm self-reliant. I get the job done. And you're adding your T-bars high and making the shifts there. You're underlining your signature at the end. Always end it by underlining your signature. So that's basically it. These are changes you can make in your handwriting that are remarkably easy to do, but you will be thanking me just as I am thanking me.
All right, not all of these videos are going to be this long, but we hope you enjoyed this one. Please do drop your comments. Let us know what you want to hear more of, less of, etc. And we'll see you in the next video.
Thanks again.
And good night.